So let's come to the most popular type of trading bot known as the grid trading bot. I've actually had 2 grid bots running for well over a year now, and we can see the data from these. I set them up in a previous video as an experiment and as an example, just to see how these things would actually perform in the real world with some data. We've had over a year of that now, and we can see how they've performed versus the underlying assets. How do grid bots actually work? Well, essentially what they do is try and take advantage of volatility within a set price range. And so they just buy and sell at, let's say, 2% intervals all of the time, and try and eke out some price movements and profits from volatility. So what they're trying to do essentially is take a long position in a crypto, but then take advantage of the small ups and downs as well. Sounds really good, but we can see how they've actually performed in the real world. So how a grid bot works is that you do take a long position. So there are reverse grid bots as well, which actually take short positions and you kind of bet on the price going down. But normal grid bots are long. And so you actually have a long position mostly. And so you are going to benefit more when the price rises. But what they do is, they buy a certain amount at a certain price. And then when the price moves down, they buy some more. And if the price moves down, they buy some more. Now, when the price moves back up, what they can do is sell the one they just bought for a profit. If the price moves back down again, they will actually buy another small chunk here. And if the price moves up again, they'll sell. If the price moves up, they'll sell that one that they bought. And if the price moves up, they'll sell that one that they bought. So they do this with a certain amount of capital over and over and over again. And the bids and the offers, or the buys and the sells, just get refreshed and refreshed over and over again. And they essentially try to print what they call a yield out of the market, where they're taking advantage of that volatility. However, for the most part, you are going to buy a decent chunk when you open the bot. And so you do benefit more when the price goes up. That's what these long bots are trying to do. You can see exactly how this strategy works on Pionex. They give you all of the buy and sell orders. So this is for Bitcoin here. I started this bot around 41,000 for the price of Bitcoin. And I set the parameters here down to around 14 or 15,000 to the downside, and then 40 odd thousand, 43,000 to the upside. So when the price is in between those ranges, the bot is going to be working for me, trading those small amounts in and out. For Ethereum as well, I started this bot at a lot higher price for Ethereum, and I set the bot parameters around 900 to the downside, something like that. For Ethereum, the bottom price is around 975, and then the top price right here is around 3,000. So these bots have a very wide range. Now, if you want to trade shorter term, you would have the top and bottom ranges much closer to the current price so that you can put more capital to work, because the bot does have some capital back in order to buy some of these lower prices. That can work for you if you're trading over a longer time period. If you're trading over a shorter time period, you want the bot parameters much closer to the current price, so you have more of the dollars to spend and trade closer to the current price. But how have these bots performed exactly? You can see down here both are in a loss. MBTC is down 22% and the ETH bot is down 30%. But how has that performed in comparison to just buying the same amount of those assets when I started the bots? So you can see here for Bitcoin, the grid bot is down 22%. If I'd have just bought the same amount of Bitcoin at that price, I'd be 31% down now. So the bot is outperformed by 9%. You can't really ask for more than that, but as you can see in the real world, these bots are not going to perform miracles and make you profits in a down market because they're long bots. However, what we can see is the bots have outperformed buying and holding that chunk at that price. Why? Because the grid profits, as you can see, are about 3%, and it's bought some lower for me. So it's actually got a better average price than buying and holding at a chunk at 41,000, which is where I entered this bot. So that worked for me on the downside. If you're in a bull market, then you may actually get a slightly worse price for your entry. But that kind of doesn't matter because the price will be going up anyway. But as you can see to the downside, they've really worked to actually get a lower entry price for me. And for me, I think if we're going into a new bull market, which it looks like we are, certainly there's an uptrend here. This could actually work out really well, but you've of course had to hold the bots for at least a year. I'll hold these bots for a lot longer. If you want to know how these bots are doing, you can come into the private Discord groups, link below. You'll see the Crypto Investor course link below. You can ask me exactly how these bots are doing. I'll show you exactly how they're doing over time and how they're performing in comparison to a buy and hold strategy. there are some things to consider with grid bots because they are just a tool and they can't make a bad trade good. The first one is grid parameters do matter. So if you have a very wide grid from top to bottom, you are spreading your capital out very thin. That may not be good for a shorter term trade. You may want to concentrate it and you may want the grids to be a certain distance. In fact, if you go onto many of these platforms, KuCoin, Pionex, and you go onto grid bots, they have AI grid bots where you can actually just let the grid bot do it for you. So if you press create, you can see there is a strategy here. You can customize it with your own parameters, or you can just let the AI bot do it for you. And it's going to tell you the top and bottom price and the difference between each grid. So you can have a look at that and play with it over time. Also, what we can see is that the crypto choice matters. So again, if you're playing a shorter term trade and you think it's going to be volatile, that may be very good. However, if we can look at some of the top performing grid bots, you'll see that these are just random coins that have become very volatile, very short term, and may not be good to get into for the future. So you have to really think about what you're doing and what you think is going to happen in the future, and then use the grid bot as a tool rather than just something that you hope will make money over time, because it really won't if you set the grid up wrong or if you're just in the wrong asset. There are many variations on the grid bot as well that give us different options depending on how we want to trade. The first one is a leveraged grid bot, and a margin grid bot is pretty much the same thing. This is actually where you use leverage and margin to increase your capital. So you're essentially borrowing money from the exchange here and using your assets to fund any losses. So with leverage, they use the crypto futures market. You can leverage up, let's say 5 times. So if you have $1,000, you can leverage up 5x, meaning you'll have a $5,000 position. But obviously that $1,000 is there to pay for losses. A 20% move on 5x leverage wipes out your capital. So this is only really for short-term speculation, to be honest. Margin grid bot is a similar thing. You can use margin to increase your position size. We also have reverse grid bots. These are the exact reverse of a grid bot. So whereas I've gone for a normal long grid bot, so that means that we have a bias to the upside, have a bias for buying, hoping the price goes up. A reverse grid bot uses crypto futures again to actually have a bearish bias. So you start selling first, and the bot is, biased towards essentially selling, trying to make money as the price falls. So again, if you're looking to trade shorter term and you want to take short positions on something, that might be something that you can do. Infinity grid bot just means this is a very long-term buy and hold thing where it's just going to basically trade the price to infinity. This may work, but you spread the capital out very thin.